Hey, we're here
Hey,
today with Jared Libman, and that was a little preview of what we're going to talk about. But Jared, tell us about Libman. I want to hear all about Libman.
all about it. Yeah, no problem. So we'll start from the beginning. This year actually marks 130 years that we've been in business. So going back 130 years to 1896, my great-grandfather came here from what's now Lithuania. Back then it was Russia. Came here with no skills outside of only knowing how to make a woodblock brush with boar's hair, so like pig hair, essentially. And that was in Chicago. He eventually learned to wind a broom, the old-fashioned kind, with wood handle, corn broom, real corn broom fiber. None of this grass that you get a lot of today, but learned how to wind those and sold them all out of a push cart in downtown Chicago for like 15, 20 years. And we're talking, the old-fashioned uphill both ways, in the snow, in the rain, in the sun, 365 days a year, because that's what you did back then to put, just to get some bread on the table. We were doing that up until about 1930, when we could no longer afford to pay Al Capone for protection money. They would hit us up monthly to pay them so they would not destroy our business. We couldn't afford that. My grandfather, the founder's son, ended up getting in a fight with the collector, threw him out of the second-story window, and we packed up our factory overnight and moved 3 hours south to a small town called Arcola, Illinois. You could do that before the internet because they couldn't find you. Nowadays, you're everywhere immediately. They could find you in a second. But so we're in the middle of cornfields, and that's where we are today. That first factory in Arcola was a schoolhouse from 1860, and we have grown significantly since then. We're now at 1.9 million square feet, but we still kept the old gymnasium floor of the schoolhouse because that's where the factory was at the time. The rooms of the school were being used as offices or storage space, and the gymnasium was where we would manufacture everything. So we actually have that original wood floor that's, very old, as part of just, reminding us where we came from. So fast forward a little bit more, you can see in my background some of those silos. And I mentioned we're 1.9 million square feet now, but really what that means is we are vertically integrated. So we are controlling our raw materials, the entire manufacturing process. So we do have some of the most stable pricing in the entire country. And this is probably hard to see a little bit, this manufacturing fun facts here, but I'll read some of these for you guys. Thanks. Yeah, so this is now probably 2 years old. So we make well more than this. So, but then it was 106,000 handles per day in one shift. It's 80 miles worth of brooms and mops 5 days a week. Each tube mill, the handle line that is, makes 1,200 pound steel coils and forms over 50,000 tubes per shift per machine. We powder coat paint over 6,000 handles per hour. We make over 185 million eaches of what's now about 400 part types with 400 molds each year. These molds are absolutely gigantic, can be, 30,000 pounds. We have 20 million pounds of plastic each year that we use, and part of being vertically integrated is we store all that plastic and material on site. That's what those silos are. So you can only see some of them in the background behind me, but we have 94 of those on property. That means we're storing roughly 2 years of raw material to ensure very stable pricing for all your customers.
Jared, what kept your family in the U.S. during the time when everybody else was leaving the U.S. into manufacturing?
Well, what do you mean exactly? What time?
Oh, like the whole NAFTA time.
That's what you mean. Yeah. So yeah, good question, Bobby. My dad is a very staunch American. I mean, he was raised hearing stories of his father and his grandfather working their fingers to the bone, doing whatever it takes to make this business work. And so when NAFTA came around in the mid 90s, my dad went up to DC, Washington, DC, and testified in front of Congress and the Senate twice against passing NAFTA, because he knew what would happen. And what he predicted ended up coming true, which was the vast majority of American manufacturers ended up going out of business or turning to overseas production lines south of the border or over in China.
So he put his he technically really did put his money where his mouth was.
Yeah.
Like,
so
he stood up for it. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And because of that, we became vertically integrated. We doubled down on manufacturing here instead of looking for lower cost options elsewhere. Because when you do that, you lose your quality control. Quality is probably the biggest thing we stand for. If we put out a bad product, nobody's going to buy it again. If we can't ship our product because it's stuck at a border, nobody's going to buy it. So we eliminate that.
Tariffs don't really come in play anymore then for you guys.
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly. So yeah, tariffs have helped us because we're a U.S. manufacturer. Most of everything we do is here in the U.S. All of our resin and plastics, those are mostly from recycled water bottles, of which there are, an endless supply of that here in the U.S. So
yeah, we keep generating that plastic for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I hate to say it, but the more pollution, the more plastic we get to make brooms with.
So Jared's going to be joining our vendor showcases starting in Orlando on January 27th.
Mm-hmm.
Jared, tell me what's give me the hottest product or the couple hot products that you're going to show at the showcases.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. David, do you actually have that next image by any chance? Yeah. Perfect. So these are our top 20 bestsellers in janitorial, and I will be coming down to every location that you guys have, and I'll be bringing most of these products here. And these are what we know for a fact sells very well in the commercial market to your customers. And in addition to that, I'll be showing, how best to sell these to your salespeople, how best to use them for end users if they're there. And best of all, we go on sales calls with your salespeople, and, we want you guys to be successful. So we'll bring some of these samples with us on sales calls.
Yeah, definitely. You can see the dates underneath. Orlando's January 27th. Lakeland is February 3rd. Clearwater, February 4th. And in Jacksonville on February 20th. And Ocala on February 24th. And yes, if you're a customer, certainly Jared could come and visit you, kind of do an assessment of what you're using in the broom world and these other different tools that possibly could help out. Bring them out to show them, give them a little test, things like that. That's what you do when you come out to a facility, I would assume, Jared?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I want to make sure that you guys know how to use it and your customers know how to use them. And, some of the complaints that we have are usually complaints because someone broke a product because they used it incorrectly. So if we can eliminate, user error by education, then that makes everyone's jobs and lives a little bit easier.
Yeah, you need to put a brace on a 24-inch push broom. You don't run it with just the handle because it's going to bust the handle off.
Yeah, so yeah, there's all sorts of tips and tricks like that I'll go through and help explain.
So anything new coming out from Libman in 2026? Yeah.
So one of the things that we do as a company is we try to come out with a lot of new products every single year. So spin mops can continue to be a really big growing segment, and we're coming out with a couple new different variations of spin mops. Our newest one is a commercial grade spin mop, and it has a dolly or a trolley that can come with it to easily wheel the spin mop around at different locations to make it easier for cleaners instead of picking up a bucket with water. So that's a new one that is very popular right now. I'll bring that with me to the shows. But other than that, we're also going to come out with a new commercial mop bucket with a drain plug and a sifter plate. The sifter plate we're actually really excited about, because what that means is you put that in the bottom of the bucket, and any debris from the mop head falls underneath that sifter plate. So when you get clean water on your mop head, there's no sand or gravel or any debris to scratch the floor.
Good, cool.
Yeah.
I want to kick back a little bit. Just one more. I had a question about you did your family's history like from the 30s to the 40s, and then we jumped into NAFTA. But I want to kick back. What did I don't even know. You might say they didn't really do anything, but what did Libman do during the war, World War II?
Great question. I almost never get asked this past the Al Capone part, but yeah, we made corn brooms. We made, I want to say it was 100 dozen every single week for the Army, and that, as the story goes, brought in $10,000 of profit every single week for the company. And back then, that was a lot of money. I mean, it's still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but back then that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, 100,000 dozen, because back then you don't measure these in cases; it's by the dozen. So 100,000 dozen a week to the U.S. Army to support the war efforts.
Great.
Yeah. And then since we're telling a little bit some more stories, here's a good one about how we entered the retail market for the first time. I know we're all commercial guys here, but we were a commercial only company up until roughly 1970, when my dad was on a sales call to Arkansas, finished his call early, called up his secretary, because again, no internet back then. And he said, "Hey, is there anyone else I can call on before driving home to Illinois?" And she's like, "Yeah, there's this new company out there. It's in Bentonville. It's called Walmart. You can go check it out." And so my dad walked in. They had 2 locations at the time. He walked in with no appointment, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt, and sold them. And they've actually been our oldest customer to date. And we are actually one of their oldest vendors to date. So wow. That's how we got into the retail market.
Yeah, and he didn't need an appointment or a calendar invite.
Nope.
Or anything.
He just did the old-fashioned way. You just knock on the doors, you know. I mean, we're as sales
those
guys.
Days have been gone for a while, huh?
Yeah. So yeah, sales guys, we have to go out there and knock on doors, and probably one of my biggest tips for everyone is don't be afraid of meeting a new person every single day.
Yeah, because that story can repeat itself today.
Oh,
for somebody 100%. In some
100%.
sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Jared, it was great spending time with you, and we're looking forward to seeing you in January in Orlando, and then at the other branches during February. And do you have anything else, Dave?
Nope. I just had fun listening, because you know what? A lot of people say U.S. made, but you have a U.S. history. I mean, yeah. I don't know that there's anybody else we're going to talk to that has a history of talking about Al Capone in their background in a company.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm happy to share it, and I'm happy to meet everyone at all the 5 locations that you guys have, and I'm really looking forward to that opportunity. Thank you.
All right. Great. We'll see you in January.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.